Hey guys, I'm gonna talk about how I care for my bearded dragon. He is a full adult, about 2.5 years old. So I guess I'll start on the size of the enclosure. Adult bearded dragons need at least a 40-gallon breeder tank, nothing less. Otherwise, they'll just stress out because they don't have enough room. But Maximus here is in a 100-gallon tank, which is 6 feet long, 2 feet high, and 18 inches deep. Now, some people say that's too big, but I disagree with that because bearded dragons tend to cope with big spaces really well. They utilize the space they have, unlike other animals that stress out when they have too much room. I could fit up to 4 adults in this tank alone, but I don't have 4 adults obviously, but I'm planning on getting a female to put in with him. I know they will breed. I know, don't comment telling me that. It's obvious. So, with this big of a tank, I use a 150 watt heat bulb, which is up there. Right now, I have his night bulb in, which keeps him warm at night, which is a 100 watt infrared bulb. Now, that's not a necessity, but I just like to give him the option of a warm spot at night. Better better to let him have the warm spot than just if he were to get too cold, have nothing to do about it. So I would recommend a night bulb, and the temperature needs to be a basking spot of 110 degrees. That's ideal. But the ambient temperature, which is just the air around the basking, the warm side, should be about 90 to 90. No, 95. 95 is probably better. And then on the cool side, around 80. So they have, and that's the good thing about this 6 foot tank is he can go from 110 degrees to a nice cool spot, or even go in that hide. So that's a 10.0 UVB light. I know I should have a full spectrum fluorescent bulb, the long ones, but I just don't have the money, and this is what came with the tank, and it'll do. I normally don't have it on at night, but it's dark out, but I just needed it for a little extra lighting for this video because it's like 11 o'clock at night. So the UVB light should be on 10 to 12 hours a day, so he can get his UVB. Otherwise, he'll get metabolic bone disease, which is very bad. It's just really sad when you see a bearded dragon that has MBD. So next we'll talk about humidity. So bearded dragons come from dry climates. So you need to, obviously low humidity. But here in California, Southern California, his humidity stays at about 50. And I know that's a little high, but there's nothing I can do about it. If there is, feel free to comment and tell me what I can do to lower that. So yeah, humidity's covered. I'll talk about substrate next. I use sand. I know a lot of people are going to give me shit about that, but I just think it by far looks the best. And probably lets the bearded dragon feel more in his natural habitat. And but only use sand if it's an adult. If they're babies, they're 10 times more likely to get impacted by the sand, which means when they eat it, say they hunt down a cricket, they eat it, and they take a few grains of sand with it. The sand gets lodged in their stomachs and they can't digest it, and they can actually die from that. Now, adults can get impacted too, but I personally have done a lot of research on it, and I don't think it's going to be a problem. If it is, there is a way to get rid of impaction, and if it does happen to Max, then I will gladly switch over to paper towels or reptile carpet. But for now, he's doing good in it. He hasn't shown any signs of impaction. He's doing healthy, runs around his cage. But if they are babies, definitely no matter what, use reptile carpet or paper towels. Usually until they're about over 10 inches. Then it's not as much of a concern. And that usually takes about a year to get to 10 inches. Babies should be kept in a 20-gallon tank. Like I said, though, they do like to utilize their space, so I don't see it being a problem if you have a 40-gallon breeder or even bigger for a baby. But it's just all about preference, you know. And the different bearded dragons have different personalities. Like Max here loves his space. Maybe others like to be more confined. So yeah, it's up to you to figure out what your beardy likes. Next, I'll talk about the habitat decorations. Mine's pretty plain right now. Like, I'm not exactly happy with how his looks at the moment. But, you know, he's doing good on it. You need the bearded dragons like to climb. Like, I know you wouldn't think it, but they do love to climb on branches and bask and everything, and so I'd definitely provide lots of big thick logs like that where they can fit on it nicely. And obviously a hide. No matter what reptile you have, any reptile needs a hide. It's just a place they can go away to feel secure, you know. That I don't know why that's there. That's just he likes to sit on it sometimes. And I guess we'll go on to feeding. Baby bearded dragons need to be fed 80% live food, which is, I'd recommend crickets. Anything else is, you know, crickets are the best bet for babies. And with babies, you need to feed them 3 times a day with calcium dust on all the crickets. And feed them as much as they'll eat in about 10 minutes. So, or just once they're done eating, because once they're full, they will just turn away from the food. But every day offer them veggies, greens. Iceberg lettuce, stay away from that. It's too high in water. It'll just give them diarrhea. But I would go off and list all of the veggies they need, but it would just take forever. And plus, I only have about 2.5 minutes left on this video. Now, when they're adults, it flip-flops to about 80% vegetables and 20% live food. And this is the same deal, you know, whenever you feed them insects, I feed mine 3 times a week, dust it with calcium. Every day, give them the vegetables. Hydration. A lot of people say, oh, first of all, mealworms. Never feed babies mealworms. Adults, it's still not good because mealworms, especially superworms, have really hard shells, and that's really hard for the bearded dragons to digest. So that's an example of superworms. Right now I'm out of crickets, so these are for an emergency, just in case I need to feed him something. There's his veggie bowl empty from today. Water. A lot of people say the bearded dragons don't need a water dish, but I like to keep one anyway just to give him the option. But he mainly drinks from this. I spray a little on his nose at a time and he licks it off. Another way to hydrate your bearded dragon is to give them baths in lukewarm water. That's also a good way to clear out impactions. Give them baths. It stimulates bowel movements. And I think that's it. If I've left anything out, feel free to comment and let me know. This is my first bearded dragon. I've only had him for a few weeks, but the reason I know so much about it is because I did a buttload of research before I got him. Whenever you're getting a new animal, always research for a few weeks, and so you can learn everything you need to know about them before you jump into getting them. It's just for the well-being of the animal, you know. You don't want to neglect it, even though you don't know you're neglecting it. So yeah. Let me know if I left anything out. Feel free to ask questions, and goodbye.